Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Alan Joins, Mayor of Winston-Salem, and it's my distinct honor to be here today. There are some days it's good to be the mayor, and this is one of those days for sure, as we have a chance to dedicate this beautiful facility, and particularly to dedicate it to our great friend and colleague, Wanda Merschel. We have a number of council members, and our Mayor Pro Tem Adams, you'll hear from in just a moment. Councilmember Jeff Macintosh, in whose ward we are in, we'll hear from him. We have Councilmember Clark, Councilmember Scipio, Councilmember Larson, and Councilmember Mundy are here as well, and if any of them care to say anything, they're certainly welcome to as we go along. This has been a labor of love. For those of you who live by here, you probably thought, well, I'm not sure how labor it was, because we had a mound there that was there for about 3 years or something like that, and Ben Rowe and I were afraid we were going to be buried under it if we didn't get this going. So we all worked hard on this endeavor, brought together funds from different sources. We got the Millennium Fund to kick in $500,000 to help with the wonderful sculpture here and to pay for some additional costs in here. But as I think you'll agree, this is a huge downtown impact of place. You know, the sculpture here adds so much lively and vitality to it. The top two spheres were called a balancing act. You know, Wanda wanted this park to be dedicated to women, and certainly a balancing act is a good description of our wonderful women who make our city, our state, and our nation go as they balance their professional lives with the personal lives and making things happen there. And then the 16 spheres represent the 16 years that Wanda served on the city council. So we're just delighted to be here today as we officially dedicate this park. It's my honor right now to call on our Mayor Pro Tem, Denise Adams.
Could have let the mic down, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Wanda sat on my left my first 4 years on the council, and Councilmember Vivian Burke sat on my right. So I happen to be in the shadow and the presence of two great women who have done a lot for this city. When I got diagnosed with lupus back in 2013 and 12, it was Wanda who basically looked after the North Ward while I was convalescing. It was Wanda that called me to keep me in the loop of what was going on with my ward and to get my input. But I also called her for strength because it was a very bad time for me as well. I was very sick. And then when I came back, my friend was sick. And we talked to each other and everything, praying for each other. But the one thing that she always instilled in me was to be who I am. And I watched her rule finance committee and other things like a champ. And I draw on that strength. So to my neighbor, Councilmember Macintosh in the Northwest Ward, the North Ward wants to congratulate you and the staff of the city and the funders and her family for allowing us to have Wanda with us, governing in Winston and making it a better place to live. And now, Councilmember Jeff Macintosh.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Welcome to Merschel Park. I've been on council 10 years, and I've been waiting to say that, and it's just so good to be able to say it. So I'm going to be brief. I'm going to say a few thank yous, but what I really want to get to is friends and family and hear their remarks. First of all, you have to thank Wanda. I mean, her vision about what downtown Winston could be wasn't really popular for a long time. I mean, she and the mayor, I got to say, probably took some lumps on their decisions to do Restaurant Row and the loan to revitalize the Nissen building. But those two things were the spark that turned around downtown. And we were ahead of the curve, and now downtown is our calling card. I go around the state and look at other downtowns. I wouldn't trade ours with anybody. People who come to Winston, they are thrilled about our downtown, and that's all because of Wanda's vision and Alan's vision, and also the co-conspirator, Alfred Adams, who helped get this thing off the ground, because this was a complicated deal, a very complicated deal, and it took an awful lot of expertise and a lot of heart and a lot of stick-to-itiveness to get this thing done. So I'm just going to run through a load of thank yous, and then we'll move on and get some other folks up here. So first of all, on Wanda, obviously, Alfred Adams, and you'll hear from him in a couple minutes. Ralph Womble, I don't know if Ralph is here today, but he's been integral. He's been involved in this and engaged since day one. Jason Thiel from the Downtown Partnership. Not only Jason Thiel himself, but the board of directors, past presidents. I think there have been 4 presidents of the Downtown Partnership since this deal has been going on. Renz Callahan, Adam Sebastian, Mark Dunnigan, and our current president, Mark Cashin. So thank you to all of them. Board members, Mary Charlotte and Amanda of the staff, I want to thank them. City managers group, their staff, and a group that never gets a shout out but they really deserve one is our communications group. Frank and Katie and Larry and Justin and Braxton and all the other folks who jump in to make us look good in public. Multiple assistant city managers have been involved in this deal. Ben Rao, Aaron King, I especially want to thank Aaron King. He got us over the hurdle, got us moving when we were stuck in a spot we were having a real hard time getting out of. Aaron got it done, so thank you, Aaron, especially. Bloom Construction, Alex Irvin, Rob Boone, Mark Dunnigan. Man, this deal, once it got going, what y'all did to make this thing happen was incredible. We have been so pleased working with you guys, and I'm sure there'll be lots of opportunities to work with you guys again, but we really appreciate the way that you guys have made this happen. Stimmel, Kimberly Barb, your crowd. I mean, not only the look and feel of the final product, but again, just the way you guys stuck with us. This was not an easy deal. The way you guys handle yourself professionally is just unbelievable. Thank you so much, and we look forward to doing business with you again, too. Last but not least is the One Park Vista residents. So this has been, as the mayor alluded to, it's been an uncomfortable period of time watching this thing sit and languish. But it's done. It's done. And welcome to Merschel Park. Any of my fellow council members? Okay, I'd like to invite Alfred Adams up, unless you wanted to do the honors. Alfred, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, this has been a long time developing, but when I come here today, what really is in my mind, what a beautiful day this is. We need to rejoice in these days that we have. And I didn't know that Wanda was in charge of weather, but doggone if she's not. Gave us the wind to keep it all going. So anyway, let me just very quickly say, this has been a project that has been going on for 30 years. And to bring it to fruition today did take all the folks that Jeff mentioned. When we started out, to tell you how long it's been, Mayor Joins was an assistant city manager on the staff of the city, and then I presume we'd say that you got elevated to mayor. I'm not sure, but anyway. It is Wanda, and I would like to just mention a little bit just about the wind sculptures. When we saw sitting in meetings and we would see what was going on, Wanda made it clear that I want energy. I believe in kinetic art. I believe in things that move. I like to say to my wife that, you know, she liked art that did something. And so we have art, and Lyman Whitaker from Utah and has so many works on the west part of the coast, I mean west of the Mississippi, and I think we're the second or third of his sculptures in all of eastern side of the Mississippi. So we really have something here, and I like to say this is something that really there's no other place in North Carolina certainly that can match what we have downtown. So thanks for coming out and validating these 30 years of work culminating in what we have today. Thank you.
Thanks, Alfred. And as he said, we had to have somebody build it, and we were just laughingly saying there's probably more stuff underground than it is up here. So Mark Dunnigan with Bloom, thank you for the great job you did on this.
So I'd like everyone from Bloom Construction that's here over here, if you would raise your hand. All right. So So I get the privilege of being able to work with these people every day, and they're the ones that really do all the hard work, and I get to stand up here and talk about it. So thank you for all you do. Before I talk about the project, just a minute about Wanda. So I met Wanda in 2011 as I came onto the executive committee for the Downtown Partnership, and Wanda was there as well. And what I came to love and admire about Wanda was her commitment to being present, right? She was always present, and that physically she was there. Yes, she came to all the meetings. It was rare for her to miss one. But what was really impressive to me is she came prepared. She thought about it. She had a plan, a vision. She always had ideas. She always had recommendations, but she was always willing to listen to what everyone else's ideas were also and incorporate those into whatever the final plan was to make sure it was the right plan for the city of Winston-Salem. As I moved into the chair role a few years after that, Wanda and I actually stayed in contact a lot. So we'd be on the phone. I'd go to her office. For those of you who don't know, in addition to being a council member, she had a pretty big job with Piedmont Federal at the time. I think she was senior VP and chief marketing officer for them. So a lot of things pulling at her, a lot of things pulling on her time. She never refused a meeting. She never refused a call, and she was always ready to dive in and help. So this is a great tribute to her. A couple of things that I heard Wanda say like 1,000 times in the time that we worked together. That downtown is the living room of the Winston-Salem community. This is the center of downtown, and what better living room could you have than this? And then you can't have a vibrant city without a vibrant downtown. I think I heard her say that literally 1,000 times. And she is so right. She was the driver ultimately of the conservation easement that we placed on this land back then. Alfred obviously led that effort. Adam Sebastian was involved in that effort. Jason Thiel certainly, and others, a lot of others in this room that made that happen. So as we stand here today, I'll remind you that this was once called Civic Plaza. For a long time, this was Civic Plaza, and then it was Merschel Plaza, and now it's Merschel Park, honoring Wanda and her tireless efforts to make all of this what it is today. I'd like to thank a couple people as we move on to the next part of the presentation. But the Downtown Winston-Salem Foundation, between them and the Millennium Fund, they ultimately cast this massive vision. They funded the design of this to make sure that it was the right design for downtown Winston-Salem. Stemmel, Stitch, all of your design consultants, you took that vision and you turned it into an actual plan, right? So that is not easy to do, and you did a fantastic job, as we can see here today. The citizens of Winston-Salem, you voted in a bond to put $3 million towards this park. That's not an insignificant ask. So thank you for that. And then ultimately the crew of Bloom Construction. They tirelessly worked to do this. This was not an easy time to do this. And they did a great job with that and spent a lot of hours out here making sure that the vision and the plan were fulfilled the way that they should be. And I would say it's not without challenges, right? So every construction project has challenges. You need a team to get through it. The city of Winston-Salem, Aaron, Ben, Robert, and probably a handful of other people that just spent hours and hours and hours making sure this went through the way that it should. Thank you for that. You came through record construction escalation, unprecedented material shortages. It's rained every day since January. It's been a really difficult time to get a project done. And rather than succumbing to all those challenges, you rolled your sleeves up. And we're here. So that means that this team was the right team to put this project into place. So from all of the folks at Bloom, I'd like to say thank you to those that cast this vision. I'd like to say thank you for the creative minds that made it a reality. And then ultimately, thanks to the construction folks, the trade partners we have that turned it into what we're standing in today. Good job, and I can't wait to see everyone use it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. An amazing job to build this wonderful facility that'll be a long legacy for our good friend Wanda. So, well, as Jeff mentioned, we're anxious to hear from members of Wanda's family, starting out with Jim Vaughan, followed by Lisa Merschel, Karen Merschel Johnson, and then finally John Merschel. And then we'll cut the ribbon. So, Jim Vaughan, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Vaughan. I'm not family, I'm actually a friend. I met Wanda about 34 years ago. It's hard to believe. John asked me to speak today as a friend of Wanda's, and it kind of brings me full circle. I spoke at the ribbon cutting here that was 9 years ago in August. So it's hard to believe. It's been a 30-year process, but the actual ribbon cutting for this has been 9 years. The thing that's also really difficult for me is it's been 3 years since Wanda left us. And I like to say that she really hasn't left us because her influence is still everywhere you look in this city. So we will never forget Wanda and what she's done in all the years of her service to the city. As I said, I met Wanda 34 years ago at a West End Association neighborhood function. We both had just moved into the neighborhood, and Wanda was already rolling her sleeves up, getting things done, trying to tell people, her ideas and making sure things happened. Wanda did a lot of things that both for the neighborhood and for the city. But the one unique aspect of Wanda was that not only did she have ideas and not only did she encourage you to do the things, she got right in there with you and did it with you. So, Wanda wasn't a person to say you should be doing something. She actually made sure things happened. And that was wonderful. Those of you who know her, knew her a long time ago, may remember she had this pair of red eyeglasses. And when she had those red eyeglasses on, and she was in a meeting with you, it was not uncommon for her to slide those eyeglasses down to the end of her nose and look over the top of those glasses and suggest that you were the best person to handle whatever project at the moment was. And that was Wanda. And it was hard to say no to Wanda. So you usually knew you were going to be very involved. People here today, we're going to hear about all her accomplishments. We all know a lot of things she's done. But as a friend, I'd like to talk a little bit more about her personally. Wanda, I think Mark said that Wanda was present, and that when she was with you as a friend, you were there. You had her complete attention. She was completely interested in what you wanted to do or what you had to say, and it was always a lot of fun to be with her. Two of the most special memories I have of her are two trips that Wanda planned that Missy and I and John and Wanda went on. First one, we went to San Antonio. Happened to be Tim Duncan's, we suspected, last season playing for the Spurs, and we had never gotten a chance to see him play in the pros. So we jumped on a plane and went to San Antonio. Of course, we didn't just go see Tim Duncan play. Wanda was a perfect travel guide and travel planner. We had to rock the Riverwalk, of course, go see the Alamo, eat some great restaurants that she had found. So, Wanda always made sure that you were engaged and had a good time. Second trip we went on was to go to Nashville. Well, that was an interesting trip in that we were going primarily to see Tom Petty play. It turned out to be his last year on this planet. But we go see Tom Petty in Nashville. And of course, it wasn't just to go see Tom Petty. One of the cool things, Wanda discovered there was this golf cart company that could run you around downtown. And it was a lot more efficient than a taxi. So she made friends with the guy that first picked us up, and before you know it, we had our own personal golf cart to run us anywhere we wanted in the city, which was really a lot of fun. Anyway, so that was a fun time. But when she planned a trip, just like everything else she did, she was very thorough, very engaging, and in the moment with you. So that was always a lot of fun. You may all also know she's had a little bit of an adventurous streak, and a few years before her passing, John and Wanda had picked up an RV. And she started traveling around this part of the country in an RV. And you can imagine Wanda Merschel in an RV, but she loved it. And unfortunately, I never got to go on one of the trips. We were invited several times, and the timing never worked out. But that was something I thought was always fascinating about Wanda. Another thing, I think you all know, she was into art, but she was very supportive of local artists. But one of the things that I always got a kick out of, she had a collection of china. She liked to do scavenger hunts, I guess you could call them, and go around and find. She had these wonderful sets of china. She was always trying to give them to you. Here, you need these plates. These are great. So John was, I think, encouraging her to get rid of the plates. So anyway, but that love of art was one of the things that inspired what we're looking at here today. So Wanda's enthusiasm and zest for life were infectious. She was always interested in how you were doing, how your kids were doing. Always wanted to know that. What was happening in your life. She was always focused on others. And one of the things I think that was really wonderful about Wanda, in all the years I knew her, and I went to a lot of events with her, I went to a lot of places with her, I can't ever think of, other than maybe in an official event once or twice, her ever introducing herself as an elected politician, as an elected servant to the city. She never talked about herself. She always worried about other people. And that was really, really special. Wanda's efforts made West End, downtown, and the city of Winston-Salem better places. Her influence will remain with us for a long time. Wanda loved bringing people together, and as was mentioned earlier, she used to refer to downtown as the city's living room. I can't think of a more fitting tribute to Wanda than to dedicate this park, Merschel Park, in her honor. This will be a place for people to gather in the beating heart of the city that Wanda loved and called home. We may miss Wanda, but we will never forget her.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not as strong a speaker as those who came before me, so I will be reading what I have in front of me today. 16 wind sculptures, one for every year that she served as a city council member. This fact drove me to think of other numbers and dates, such as April 15th, a day when we might normally be finishing taxes, but have thankfully paused to be in this space together, and April 14th. Now that's a date. And 73, that's an age. The age that Wanda would have turned just yesterday. And it was yesterday morning when I sat here and set up a pink beach chair in the light rain, set a timer for 73 minutes on my phone, and opened my eyes and ears to the sights and sounds of this place. I was just over there on Park Vista Lane. Wanda would have loved knowing that it was a park in her honor that people were viewing from Park Vista Lane. But she would have been even more content knowing that we were gathered here today in this park, not just looking at it. Before I sat down in my pink chair, a man working on the inside of the fenced portion of the park approached me and told me there would be a ribbon cutting service today. He and I chatted just inches from one another, him on one side of the fence and me on the other. He was cleaning up, preparing everything for today's event, and telling me about his childhood. I sat down and heard a robin singing brightly and saw a mockingbird searching for worms inside the park, quietly, as if its nest were nearby. People walked by, a man in a blue jacket walking a German shepherd, parents pushing a stroller with a toddler inside, attracted to the sounds coming from the park. I imagined an older version of this child running around here and going to the Children's Museum. There was a guy in a number 20 jersey singing, wearing green headphones and carrying a bike tire. People walked by with coffee, backpacks, umbrellas, listening on their AirPods. Cleaners arrived and entered the building next door. And inside the park itself, I saw guys in hard hats working to finish various tasks. A worker scraped the ground we're all sitting on now and then washed it down with a hose. I noticed the tender green of the leaves that popped against the gray sky. I saw rain fall on the new plantings, the slow turn of the wind sculptures, silvery against a gray sky, the Winston Tower shrouded in fog. I heard the beeping of construction trucks in front of the Callidium and felt water drops hit my pants and my jacket. So many colors around this place. The vibrant yellow of the Callidium, the yellow and purple of the Luz de Diversidad mural right behind us, and a rainbow-colored neon sign a little ways down. I would occasionally turn my gaze back to the elegance of the steel and gray of the park that pops in its own way amidst the sea of color. In addition to being a sound counsel to the city, Wanda was a wise counsel to all of us here, as we've heard. And I suspect that many of us have some of her pithy sayings ingrained in our brains. She said something in the 90s that has stayed with me when talking about the upkeep of the Mountain House in Seven Devils, where Stephen and I, my husband and I, were planning to stay. It was an admonition, she said, to, quote, leave the place as you found it or better. I recall that Stephen and I took that to heart and left the carpet vacuumed in such a way that the fibers were all running in the same direction. which my dad called and complimented us on later, relaying that, quote, Wanda wanted to know how we did that. All of us here, of course, know that this was her mantra for living life and not just a guideline for being a guest in a home. And I saw this philosophy of life, leaving a place better than you found it, born out yesterday as I sat here. And I see it today and here in all of us and all of you. Maya Angelou wrote in her poem, When Great Trees Fall, that, quote, when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed, unquote. Because Wanda existed, we exist here, in this space and time, here and now, in this park, in this city, here with each other, amidst the connection and love that she had for us and for this place. We can be and be better, for she existed. There was movement all around me yesterday, buses and cars, bikes and dogs, people on their way somewhere or just meandering through. In short, people attending to things. And the word attention came to mind as I was noticing this space. The attention to detail as folks prepared for today. The robin's insistent attention to the wet and green onset of spring. People tending to their dogs, their children, and to their tasks. All of this energy resonated with me as I watched the turn of the spherical sculptures, some turning clockwise and others turning counterclockwise. And I thought how appropriate it is that this attention and energy are what Wanda worked so hard for in the city of Winston-Salem. It's an attention and energy that she devoted to all of us here. This is a city in motion, a park in motion, and in all of us here today, energy and ideas and our memories of Wanda are in motion, especially today and especially yesterday. Yesterday morning, as the 73 minutes wound up, I packed up my chair, stored my phone, and moved my way back to the car. The robin still sang with urgency, and to my delight, the sun came out. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Johnson. I'm here with my sister, Wendy Johnson, and my husband, Kirk Hansen. And it's a real pleasure to be with everyone here today on behalf of Wanda. To have Wanda in your life is a dream for any little girl. My sister, Wendy, Lisa, Kate, Hazel, and Helen, we all have a special bond because we all knew Wanda as little girls. Wanda could make anything fun. Wanda had such a joy of life about her that, as Jim said, it was absolutely infectious. When Wendy and I first met Wanda, we fell in love with her immediately, and what's not to love? Wanda was tall and blonde and beautiful. She had a fun car. She had a cool little dog. She even made going to the dentist fun. When Wendy and I had to go to the dentist, we always got to go shopping after the dentist. So Wanda knew that shopping could cure anything bad. Wanda taught us that you could have Mountain Dew and Dewey's birthday cake for breakfast, and it was okay. As I reflected on that, because we had to go to Dewey's today, I realized that there's a straight line between Mountain Dew, Dewey's birthday cake, and the dentist. But somehow it all worked out. Wanda also taught us that the dry cleaner is magic, and the dry cleaner can do anything. If there's a problem, take it to the dry cleaner. And that an oven's not for baking bread, an oven is for storing bread. As John will attest, I don't think Wanda ever turned on the oven. But that just forced the rest of us to bone up on our culinary skills. Wendy and I were always so proud of Wanda. You know, she started her career right back here in the old NCMB building. To us, she was like career Barbie because she had this great big job in downtown Winston-Salem, and we were so incredibly proud of her. You know, in addition to teaching us some cool things to do with the oven or not to do with the oven and how helpful the dry cleaner was, what Wanda really taught us is that it's important to give back, that you have to be a good neighbor and how to be a good neighbor, and the power of being positive. But the thing that she really taught all of us is how important it is to be loved and to be accepted, even if you're not technically family. Because to Wanda, everyone was family. And Wendy and Kirk and I are so proud to be part of Wanda's family. Wendy, Kirk and I live in Virginia now, and Wendy and I came in together yesterday afternoon, and as we were driving into downtown, after a stop at Mr. Barbecue, another thing that Wanda taught us, we noticed the ballpark, and we both remarked about how this was just one of Wanda's incredible accomplishments. And so Wendy and I were walking around downtown yesterday afternoon after we checked into the hotel, and we came up here to look at the park. And while we were here, God help them, this family from Connecticut came over, and there were 6 of them, 2 adults and 4 teenagers, and they said, "Is Merschel Park not open yet?" And Wendy and I said, "Nope, it opens tomorrow." And they said, "Do you know anything about it?" And Wendy and I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, we do." So now there are 6 Connecticut residents that know Wanda's bio, a litany of her accomplishments, and that the ribbon cutting's today. So taking that message back north. Wendy and Kirk and I want to thank everyone that was involved with this project and to say how sincerely grateful we are at how Wanda's spirit has been captured. And when Wendy and I saw this park for the first time yesterday after we debriefed the Connecticut delegation on Wanda and her many accomplishments, Wendy said, "Karen, look, pinwheels." So these sculptures, they're pinwheels. If you knew Wanda, you knew she loved a pinwheel. She could not leave a grocery store, a dollar store, or the garden shop without picking up a pinwheel. They made her happy and they made her laugh. This plaza is really testament to Wanda and all of us here today who love her as a mother, as a mentor, as a neighbor, and a friend. We are all so proud to share this park with anyone that wants to come by, whether it's as a gathering place or simply as a place to be quiet and reflective. And as Lisa so perfectly noted, yesterday was Wanda's birthday. And if you think that Wanda did not have a hand in today being the date that this park is dedicated, then you did not know Wanda. Because Wanda continues to be a force and working through every one of us here today. Thank you all so much.
Wow, I'm not sure how to top all that. I'm going to do the best I can. But Mayor, thank you for being here. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for being here. Council members, thank you so much for being here. It's my honor to speak for Wanda, who couldn't be here. There are so many people to thank for their part in making Merschel Park a reality. Wanda and I would like to thank Councilmember Jeff Macintosh for always having Wanda's best interest at heart and for being a remarkable successor to Wanda in the Northwest Ward in the city. Jeff, Wanda was thrilled when you won your election, and she was even more thrilled at the job you did. So thank you for that, Jeff. Thank you to Downtown Partner President Jason Thiel. Jason's been around a long time. He's had a presence, he's been a good leader, and he's always had a high regard for Wanda. Thank you, Jason. I'd like to thank Ralph Womble for leading the Millennium Fund to pay for the piece of art, and also for advocating that the quality of Merschel Park not be compromised when there were budget problems. So again, he had the Millennium Fund to step up and fill that gap. So thank you, Ralph. And then there's Alfred Adams, longtime member of the Downtown Partnership and a prominent lawyer in town for decades. Wanda and Alfred had a special relationship. Their vision for the park and downtown in general was in sync. No egos involved, just the wisdom, ability, and doggedness to see their vision made a reality. Anyone who has worked with or just been around Alfred is aware of his enormous talent, work ethic, and vision. All this wrapped up in a charming demeanor, free of ego. Alfred and Wanda truly were co-conspirators. Thank you, Alfred. And finally, Wanda and I would like to thank the people of Winston-Salem who agreed to fund Merschel Park for their patience and vision, and with the hope that they find Merschel Park as inspiring as I do. Family was always first for Wanda. One of her favorite occasions was gathering family and friends for the holidays. And oh, could she set a table. I believe she had every piece of Lennox Christmas china ever produced. Then she would order the food from Salem Kitchen. It's true. Wanda's professional career was in banking. She started as a teller trainee for NCNB, North Carolina National Bank, at the age of 20. After multiple mergers, promotions, and a job change, Wanda was hired by Piedmont Federal, who recognized her vision and her close connections to the people of Winston-Salem as an avenue to enhance their brand. Wanda retired from Piedmont Federal as Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer. Not bad for a high school graduate. Wanda started her public life with the West End Association. The West End Association was founded in the early 60s to preserve the historic architecture in the neighborhood where we lived. That association is arguably the oldest incorporated 501c3 neighborhood association in the country, and is still extremely active today. Wanda was its first female president. Wanda was elected to City Council in 1997 and served on the Finance Committee under Chair Bob Northington and Finance Director Loris Cloakley. She considered both men brilliant, and they were willing mentors. Almost 3 years into her first term, she became Finance Committee Chair when Bob resigned from Council. One of her proudest achievements in that role was helping to maintain the city's AAA bond rating during the 2008 recession years. At that time, Winston-Salem was one of only 3 cities nationally with that designation. She told City Manager Garrity on her leaving council that if he ever let that bond rating slip, she would come back to haunt him. I know that's true today, Lee. She stayed in the role of finance chair for 13 more years until electing not to run for office in 2013. Over the years, politicians approached her many times to try and persuade her to run for higher office. She was always quick to say no. You see, she did not consider herself to be a politician, but a public servant to the people of Winston-Salem. In that capacity, she felt she already had the highest office. Wanda defined the phrase Southern charm. She was not the loudest person in the room. She was not a gland-handing, look at me woman. and you might not notice her at all at first. But she did her homework, was a critical thinker, and did not go away. You underestimated her at your own risk. She was always true to her vision of downtown and greater Winston-Salem. Setbacks did not deter her. She would just regroup and find a new tack to achieve her goals. She always played the long game. She did not believe in a lot of hyperbole. She did believe in building consensus and quiet action. She was never heavy-handed, just consistent and congenial. Magically, the more you talked to her, the more you seemed to come around to her way of thinking. She left her mark on so many projects, small ones like the flower baskets on downtown light poles, the dog park in Washington Park, Christmas decorations in downtown storefronts, music on 4th, large ones like the building of the baseball stadium, sale of Joel Coliseum, the landfill expansion, the downtown bid district, Restaurant Row project, and of course the easement over Civic Plaza, now Merschel Park, and so much more. She was accessible and always willing to listen. Wanda was a leader. Wanda dreamed of Merschel Park being a tribute to the women of Winston-Salem. She was influenced and mentored by so many women in her lifetime, and she considered mentoring and empowering young women a sacred duty. The inspiration and beauty captured in this park would have pleased her. Wanda was so many things to so many people, but to me, she was my loving wife and best friend for over 3 decades. I was in awe of her strength and grace, her patience and her beauty, her intellect and her passion, her integrity. My relationship with Wanda can best be summed up by a Chris Christopherson song title from the 60s, which is, "Loving her was easier than anything I'll ever do again."
John and members of the family, thank you. Really feel Wanda here with us right now. So I'd like to invite all the speakers to come around the table there, around back here, and we'll do the ribbon cutting, making this official. And other members of the family that didn't speak, please come up as well.